Hi everyone, this faculty development talk will be going over some of my experiences and best practices in using AI to create teaching materials. These are the related ACGME clinician educator competencies. So when I was attending on our surgery co-management service, my team of learners wanted to go over an approach to post-op fevers. And so I found this well-written review paper that I based my talk on. And after my talk, I wanted to send them something else for spaced repetition, so I thought, why not send them an infographic? The problem was there wasn't a pre-made infographic that I liked online, so what I did instead was upload my paper into this AI model called NotebookLM, which lets you make study tools out of hand-picked source materials. And so I uploaded my paper, clicked this infographic button, and in 10 minutes, I got this result. My first impression was that this looks really polished, definitely better than anything I could have made in that short amount of time. And it would have been tempting to send it out as is at that point and call it a day. But this is what's called automation bias, where we see something that AI has made that looks really shiny and polished and assume it's also complete and error-free. What we should do instead is employ this Deft AI framework that Dr. Chuang introduced last month and start to do some critical review of our AI output. So when we look more closely, first there's this funny typo when it tried to write surgical site infection. This often happens when AI tries to render images where it will make up words, but all in all though, this is a relatively low stakes for an error. What's more concerning though are the AI's editorial choices. So my review article uses this common W's mnemonic for approaching post-op fever, and under the wind bucket, which are all lung causes, it appropriately listed PE as something to consider for post-op fever. In the final product though, the AI ended up compressing all of that information into just a drawing of some lungs and listed only pneumonia underneath. PE is just completely gone now in this new version of the framework, which for learners taking care of patients who are post-op and at higher risk for developing a clot is just not ideal. In Dr. Chuang's talk about AI, we also learned about misskilling, which is when using AI outputs that have errors can quietly reinforce incorrect behaviors. With the infographic I made, the misskilling risk is that learners who rely on this infographic's condensed framework later may inappropriately fail to consider VTE in their differential for post-op fever. That was the misskilling risk, but something else happened when I uploaded my paper into the AI model and clicked the infographic button, which is that in my head, I thought I was just asking the AI model to do purely a design task. What I actually asked it to do though was to first review my paper, then decide which teaching points were important and which weren't, and then make a pretty infographic out of it. So I ended up underestimating the scope of my ask. This then leads to the idea of de-skilling, which is losing a previously learned skill. Now, de-skilling isn't always bad. It really just depends on what the trade-off is and whether you're aware of it happening. For example, we've offloaded the cognitive task of memorizing phone numbers to our phones, something we're happy to let them handle. Because AI can create designs that are so polished in the matter of minutes, when I'm creating teaching materials, I might decide I'm fine offloading this specific task to the AI and letting my design skills, as a result, atrophy a little. But because I didn't appreciate everything I was asking AI to do in my earlier example, I also let it take the lead on content curation. If my pattern of AI usage were to continue like this over time, I would also de-skill in my content curation, something I don't want to happen. So my takeaways from this experience were that beyond reviewing your AI outputs, is you should really dissect what your ask is each time you interact with AI. What looks like a single task, such as creating an infographic from an article, is often hiding several subtasks underneath. And some of them, like laying out the design, you may be fine letting AI take the lead on. But others, like deciding what the teaching points are, these are the parts where our oversight and expertise as an educator and clinician really matter. And so these are the areas where we should be much more careful in delegating to AI when creating teaching materials.